Today we'll be doing a deep dive into one stunning succulent, Echeveria Cubic Frost. This gorgeous plant is a hybrid and a result of a breeding program. Plants used to create cubic frost are Echeveria Doppler aka Swan Lake and an unknown cultivar referred to as R21. This succulent is also patented, meaning any propagation, even for personal use, is prohibited. The patent expires in 2035. If you'd like to learn more about plant patents, I've linked a video in the description. Cubic Frost is a superb hybrid that looks great and is also easy to grow. While many Echeveria plants can be a bit challenging, this one I would recommend to beginners. Cubic Frost is a medium-sized Echeveria and a single rosette can grow to approximately 15 to 20 centimeters or 6 to 8 inches. The size will very much depend on the growing conditions and root space. It is also very generous with its offsets and can grow into a large cluster if it has enough space. Mature clusters can measure well over 40 centimeters or 16 inches. Height-wise, it can reach about 10 centimeters or 4 inches and grows low to the ground. The leaves grow out of a short stem and are quite chunky. Each leaf rises in the middle in a sort of upturned V shape. The tips end in a spike-like point but are not sharp. All of the leaves are coated in a dusty substance called the farina. Farina is like a sunscreen for succulents and protects the plant from sunburn. The color is a beautiful lilac shade and its intensity will change throughout the year. During the summer months or when the plant is actively growing, the color will be very subtle, almost a bit green. But once it starts getting chilly or when the plant is stressed, a deeper lilac pink color will develop. This succulent will grow best outdoors in a bright sunny spot. It does tolerate outdoor shade and filtered light but is likely to be green. It can grow leggy and stretched as a result. Fungal diseases are also more likely to attack when succulents, especially Echeveria, are grown in shaded spots that are often more humid. Cubic Frost can be a bit susceptible to powdery mildew and should be kept in a sunny, well-ventilated spot when this fungal disease is around. Personally, I would not recommend growing it indoors as it's very likely it will not survive unless you have a big sunny window, a sunroom or plant growing lights. It should, however, tolerate overwintering and short stays indoors as long as it's kept in a super bright spot. It can be grown in pots outdoors as well as frost-free gardens. If grown in pots, repotting every year or so will ensure offsets and a happy plant. It does tolerate being root bound, but there may not be as many offsets, some of the bottom leaves are likely to die off and the plant may cease to grow. If you only get light frosts and no snow during winter, you can grow this succulent in the garden. Because it grows low to the ground, the best position in the garden would be around the edges where it cannot get overgrown by other plants. Bigger, more vigorous neighbors can easily smother it or cast a shadow that will cause leggy growth. When growing in the ground, you can help it establish by mixing any type of potting mix with the garden soil. The roots tend to be quite thin and can find it difficult to break through hard dirt. By cultivating and mixing in a bit of potting mix, you'll add nutrients and improve the soil structure. When growing succulents in the garden, it's best to choose a slope, raised beds or a spot where water doesn't pool after the rain. In pots, Cubic Frost will thrive on good quality succulent potting mix. Succulent potting mix will have the right pH and nutrients tailored to succulent plants. As we discussed earlier, when growing in the garden, it's best to cultivate the soil by mixing in a bit of potting mix. I have a few of these succulents and all are grown outdoors even when it rains. But for them to survive the rain, they need to be planted in well-draining potting mix and be in a sunny spot. If your climate is quite wet and humid, it may be best to bring it under cover when it rains heavily or keep it in a ventilated greenhouse. If you're ever worried, it's always best to err on the side of caution and bring succulents, especially Echeveria, under cover during rainy periods. During dry weather or when growing under cover, allow the potting mix to dry out between waterings. In summer, this could mean watering a few times per week and almost not at all during the cold months. Thanks to the thick water-filled leaves, cubic frost is drought tolerant and can survive without water for months. But in my opinion, it should not be left too dry for too long, as it may start losing leaves. Temperature-wise, it will tolerate heat well over 40 degrees Celsius or 104 Fahrenheit, though it should be moved out of the sun once it gets this hot. If exposed to direct sun during extreme heat waves, the leaves can suffer sunburn and the plant could die, especially when planted in dark-colored pots. Cubic frost is not very frost hardy. It can get frostburns and even die when temperatures drop below the freezing point for too long. If you only get occasional frost, use frost cloth to protect your succulents. During deeper frosts or snow, bring this plant indoors for the duration. So, because cubic frost is a patented succulent, technically it should not be propagated. While I'm not a huge fan of plant patents, it is what it is, and I'm not going to talk about how this plant can be propagated. Instead, I'm going to tell you how to propagate a distant relative that is very similar in the way it grows and propagates. You can do with this info as you wish. We're going to talk about topsy-turvy, which can easily be propagated from leaves and cuttings of offsets. The offsets conveniently often grow long stalks and you can just pull them away. Many will already have roots, which will help with getting established. Once separated, they should be left to dry for about 24 hours before planting. This will give the wound a chance to heal and prevent harmful organisms from getting in. When the wound is dry, they can then be planted into pots filled with succulent potting mix and transplanted into the garden or a bigger pot once enough roots develop. New roots should start growing in 2 to 4 weeks, and the plant will be ready to transplant in approximately 2 to 3 months. If you want to grow loads, leaves can be propagated and have very good success rate. They should be easy enough to separate. Do try not to break them, as this often causes the leaf to die. Start at the bottom. If you're finding it hard to access the leaves, pull the plant out of its pot. After separating a few, leave the leaves in a tray in a dry, sheltered but bright spot. Once you get new growth, plant the leaves in trays or pots filled with succulent potting mix and wait a few months until the roots have grown well into the pot. If you'd like a more detailed how-to on propagating Echeveria leaves, I have a video dedicated to just that, which I'll link in the description and at the end of this video. In my experience, propagating is best done in spring. Summer is usually also good, but be careful to protect your cuttings and leaves from strong sun, as they burn easily. In climates where autumn and winter are mild, you can also propagate cuttings at the beginning of autumn. Personally, I stop propagating leaves by early to mid-summer, so the plant has a chance to develop before winter. Leaves that are not yet developed are also more prone to dying if exposed to direct hot summer sun. Cubic frost is pretty susceptible to most succulent pests. Aphids are most common when inflorescences start to appear and can spread to the rosette and the pups. They spread fast and should be eradicated immediately after you spot them. Mealybugs also like cubic frost, and I'd advise frequent checks between the leaves. Watch out for any white streaks, cottony sacs or malformed growth. Root mealybugs love root-bound plants and can go undetected as they live in the soil. It's best to check the roots at least once every growing season. Bigger pests such as snails, slugs, caterpillars and grasshoppers can attack too. If larger chunks go missing, they are likely to be the culprit. Cubic frost inflorescence is gorgeous. Flowers grow on a tall stem above the foliage, forming an arch. More than one stem can grow simultaneously. Each stem can have as many as 20 hot pink flowers. Here in Australia, it flowers throughout the summer months, but this can be different in other parts of the world. All Echeveria are said to be non-toxic and safe for humans, dogs, cats, other pets and livestock. However, I would not advise making a cubic frost salad just in case. And that is all for today. I hope this video was useful, and if you have anything to add or would like to ask a question, you can do so in the comments below. To learn more about succulents, hit the subscribe button or go to succulentgrowingtips.com. Thank you so very much for watching.